soils. Now, serious question, why would anyone want to try to create a hybrid seed? This is a picture of a radar that was taken over the Dallas-Fort Worth area last week. You can see the large plume of military chaff. Tiny glass particles covered in aluminum. They've been used by the military for years, you guys. Exercises can happen across the U.S. and they happen fairly. Chaff is a defensive mechanism used by the military aircraft to confuse radar-seeking missiles in the air. According to the Air Force fact sheet published by the Environmental Protection Agency, when a plane ejects chaff, the fibers made of glass silicate with aluminum coating create a radar reflective cloud that simulates aircraft and creates false targets.
Oftentimes when we have rain coming through San Diego County, there's something else in there. It's not just rain or snow or hail. It's not necessarily precipitation. So what might you be seeing up there? Not everything that shows up on the radar, as I just mentioned, is rain or snow or hail or sleet. There are many types of what are known as non-meteorological targets. Those could be birds or bugs or bats or something known as chaff. So exactly what is chaff? Well, chaff is released by military aircraft and ships and vehicles. It's released into the atmosphere to confuse ground-based, usually enemy ground-based radar systems. So the DoD uses a lot of training sessions where the aircraft go up and they release chaff into the atmosphere. At least 500 tons of this stuff is released into our atmosphere every year. So exactly what is chaff? Well, it's usually little microscopic fibers of glass, and they can be coated in glass as well. And there are different ways that you can release this, either free-form or in capsules. But again, it's usually used to confuse those ground-based radar systems. So here's an interesting picture. How can you tell what it is and what it isn't? Well, look at the satellite image. Look at that area to the gray. See how there is absolutely no cloud cover? That's a satellite image that marks what looks like a werewolf claw mark somewhere there. It's got 3 marks, and there's striations that are very much parallel aligned to one another, but you're seeing absolutely no cloud cover on the side that matches that. So that's one good indication. Now here's a look at the National Weather Service when it did pick out some military chaff recently here just over San Diego County. So you can kind of tell. Oftentimes it looks kind of long, elongated, or as I just mentioned, it shows up where there's no cloud cover. So it couldn't possibly be rain. So, and you also often see this with incoming Pacific storms. So on days like what we've recently had here with all those storms rolling through, you hear a lot of extra military activity. And oftentimes they're flying right into that cloud cover that does have actual precip in it or moisture carried in it. And they go ahead and they spray that military chaff. And that often is buried within those actual rain or hail or snow soundings. So it can be very difficult to tell what you're looking at. So once again, what is military chaff? Well, it's usually aluminum-coated glass fibers. I'll step out of the shot so you can read this. Aluminum-coated glass fibers, and they can range anywhere in length from about 0.5 to 0.75 centimeters, and it's released in packets anywhere from a half of thread to 100 million fibers. So as you heard me mention, 500 tons of this stuff is released into the atmosphere every year. So clearly, concerns have been raised about the toxicity of this stuff to humans and to the environment. So the next time you take a look at the radar and you see a fleck of green or yellow or red, you can ask yourself, what are you looking at? Is it military chaff, bugs, birds, bats, or rain?
Chaffing the skies above us all over the place, not just in San Diego, where you might expect some military training because there are a lot of bases there. But this is happening all over the country.
We've been dealing a lot with some military activity in terms of chaff anyway, and that's something that I experienced for the first time yesterday. That was a whole lot of fun. And that's where the military just basically dumps some of the tiny particles of plastic or metal mylar into the atmosphere. And basically they do this when we do already have weather in the area, because it's been around since as long as radar has been around, because that's the shot from yesterday's 6 o'clock show. What they do is try to confuse ground-based Doppler radar systems, and as Mark put it so kindly, ground-based meteorologists. And yes, ladies and gentlemen of the armed forces, it worked well. That's a shot of the mylar. That's a shot of the chaff, again, moving through the atmosphere yesterday. As you can see, a very distinctly different pattern from when a storm system would move through.